Okay, welcome to our March Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board meeting. It's lovely to have a few visitors in our public forum. We will get underway with a karakia tīmatanga. Mā te whakapono, mā te tūmanako, mā te te tiro, mā te whakarongo, mā te mahitahi, mā te whakamomori, mā te aroha, ka taia e mātou. By believing and trusting, by having faith and hope, by looking and searching, by listening and hearing, by working and striving together, by sheer desire and determination, by all being done with compassion, we will succeed. Okay.
Sure.
So do we have any apologies? I think everybody's here. Hi, Sally. She's online. Otherwise, we're all present. I was watching the Cambridge Community Board meeting the other night, and I thought it was quite a nice touch that Joe introduces everybody. So everyone's names is in front of their where they're sitting, but for people online, you won't be able to probably read those. So we've got Bruce Thomas down the end and Lou Brown, our councillors. Then we have John in the stripy blue shirt, Jill here in the green, and Kane up the top here with me. And of course, I'm Ange Holt and am chairing tonight's meeting. Okay. Agenda item 2 is the disclosure of members' interests. Have we got anything tonight that anyone feels they need to disclose before we discuss any of the items on the agenda? No, all good. And the public forum, I think we did have Mark, but unfortunately his presentation wasn't able to be got to go, so hopefully we'll get to see him next month. So was there anyone else? Bernard, were you wanting to? Yes, absolutely, 100%. So if you would like to jump up into the hot seat up the top there. And you probably already know how to drive the talkie thing, so just push the button and it's all yours. So welcome and thank you for coming along.
Thank you, Ange. And for starters, thanks what you guys did on Sunday. I saw you walking there, Ange, on my way to church. So, yeah, good job. I've only got questions. I don't need answers. I just want you guys to listen what's out there. Te Awamutu Museum, quoted in the paper the other day, was 5.9 million. Kerry Died was quoted 2.5. I want to know, what's it going to be fixed for? What is it going to be used for? So that's one. The War Memorial, is there a progress report? Costings versus the budget. This is a bit of a different one. The breakdown of rates. We've all been told we're going to have a 14.8% rates increase. Is there an option just to look at how much the residential versus rural versus business is going to be? Because the residential could be ending up like 25%. Where rural ends up at 10%. So it has to be out there somewhere. Cambridge Bridge, I went to probably the only Te Awamutu person I went to the meeting last week. The meeting procedure was, to be honest, was rubbish. Was a lot of people there, a lot of angry people there as well. And I was really disappointed with what I perceived to be bullying by one of the council employees. You probably know who I mean. And this is probably a question, Ken, what you might just want to digest. 33% increase in debt level. It went from 300 to 400. With all the deferrals, what council is doing, why? What's it for? Is it for growth? Where council always said growth will pay for rates. Why do we have a 33% debt increase? And last but not least, the deferred annual plan. Why? What is the reason that it has to be deferred? In October, we had the general elections. It was well known that National was against Three Waters. Why wasn't there a two-scenario system? One which actually allowed for the Three Waters and one which was a normal one. So I'll leave that with you guys to contemplate, because I actually think it's important. There's a lot of stuff out there what people don't know, what they need to know, and a lot of people are not happy. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Has anyone got any questions for Bernard that they wanted to ask? Just if you weren't sure. Oh, it was just more about clarifying, making sure we got what you got, really. Yep, cool. Okay, thanks, Bernard. Right, let's move on to item 4 then, which is a confirmation of the minutes on pages 8 to 14. And if I can have someone to move that they are a true and correct copy, and John to second it. All in favour? Against? Carried. Right, so we move to item 5, which is the notice of motion from Board Member Titchener. This was on pages 15 to 29. So if we'd like to have a bit of a discussion around what Kane's proposing, and then after that discussion, Kane, you can move your recommendations.
Yep, cool. Thanks very much.
So if you want to start.
Madam Chair. So I'll take it as read. There's a couple of key points in here that I'd just like to highlight. First of all is that there are 14 councils that have been directed to fluoridate, and the ruling has basically come back that it's an unlawful directive. So what Dr. Nick Smith, who is the Mayor of Nelson, has done is he's actually written to the Director General of Health and asked for an extension of time to the 31st of December of 2024. That's all included in here, and I just want to read one part of it. Dr. Nick Smith stated, "We are proceeding with the engineering work to enable fluoridation, but cannot be expected to proceed when the latest advice from the Ministry is, quote, the implications of the judgment are being considered." Smith goes on to request a deferral of the Director General's directive. So they've been given that for the 30th to the 31st of December 2024. So that's the first recommendation that we've asked the Community Board, requesting the Council ask for a deadline extension to the 31st of December in line with Nelson City Council. The next two recommendations are based on the information around effectiveness and safety. The second recommendation talks about requesting that Waipawa District Council request the Director General of Health review the most up-to-date science and request an independent panel to be used. This is basically because the Ministry of Health are a biased entity in this discussion. The third recommendation is around a tribunal panel being formed across the councils within the country, coming together where both sides of the argument can be heard. So currently the Director General of Health has the sole decision making. There is no consultation, there is no discussion or any discussion of any evidence. So that's what that recommendation discusses. I won't go into all of the effectiveness and safety research. That's to be added at the council meeting if it gets to that point. And I'm happy to take any questions if anyone's got any questions.
Okay, I suppose we go around the room. So Bruce, have you got any questions for Kane or comments?
I haven't got any questions, but I do take I shouldn't say offence, there may be a better word, that the recommendation says a request. So I think that's a real hard-hitting word to council officers. It's there all the time. The request may be a better word, would ask, or the third thing could, or just put recommend that the district council. And the last sentence on the third one is the Ministry of Health is a biased entity. I think that's a very personal statement by Mr. Titchener, so that's all I've got to say on it.
Lou?
I'll just reserve my opinion at the moment. This is not actually impacting on us as within our territory. So they haven't received a lot. Joe said to me that they had, up to the date that I spoke to it, had no representation at all. So that was only about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, just prior to the last meeting, actually.
Sorry, what do you mean they had no representation? No one's
No
been
one
to their,
actually talking about fluoridation at all.
they have had people go to their meetings
Well,
before.
according to Joe, that might have been the last meeting.
Last week, wasn't it?
Last meeting.
Yeah, no,
Not
no,
prior.
sorry, but there had been people prior to that, haven't there, or not in this term? Was it the previous term? Might have been, but Joe was definitely on that.
They had at minimum 70 people turn up to the Cambridge Community Board last meeting, and they have had a prior group of people come along as well. Yeah.
Okay, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
And the other thing is, once this happens in Cambridge, this is going to be spread to the remainder of the community areas in Waipa. So I think it is appropriate that we raise it.
John, you got anything to add or ask or clarify?
To me, it's a point of law that the Ministry of Health is suggesting that this happens. At present, my understanding, Parongi and Cambridge haven't shown an interest like we have in, or this group has, in what is happening with it. I think this community board has to be very careful, because I'm one that possibly for fluoridation. I was brought up with it, and my father was a surgeon, so I've had health things with that. So I think the Waipa Council hasn't got the money to go ahead and organise some sort of thing with other councils. Nick Smith has the ability as an ex-MP to write the right wordings, and sort of why are we looking at pushing when Cambridge are not interested, or Parongi are, in having fluoride in their water. This is my personal views, and I don't want to have my name sort of say that the community board are for all this when I'm actually against it. Okay.
Yep, I'm just going to jump to Sally so I don't forget her. So Sally, did you have some comments to make around Kane's submission or question, recommendations or questions or anything you wanted clarified? Or
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
So I know that the community board in Cambridge had a person talk to them about their concerns back in November of last year, and then they mustered the support and things on the last community board. I went along to witness personally what the feeling was, and just to see, engage and support. I mean, for those 70 people to attend a community board meeting is massive. I'd just like to explain that for most of us for me personally, a year ago, to come into a boardroom is huge, is really a big step. And the public don't do it often, like councillors that are experienced are coming along and they're used to this sort of stuff. So for anybody to come at 6 o'clock, dinner time, to show their concern and their stance against fluoride in their water, a neurotoxin, an environmental toxin, it's massive. And to get 60 there at that time, and in an environment that it's not their familiar ground. So I personally, it's not that I personally am looking at the latest science, which I think has been omitted. I think it's very interesting looking at the past of what's happened in central government. I think it's really, really difficult to put aside our own personal beliefs about the situation of fluoride. I'm on the understanding that the fluoride, which is a hazardous waste product, taken out with PPE gear out of a fert industry, is then put into drinking water. It doesn't sort of add up with my health background. So there's all sorts of questions that come to my mind that shows great concern, particularly when we have a council that actually, you know, is meant to be providing safe drinking water. So if you do your due diligence and look and put aside your beliefs and look at the latest research, I think the questions or the recommendations that has been put by board member Titchener is quite pertinent. I think it's very, very relevant because all of us or lots of us have family. We know people in Cambridge, and it's like fluoride now, what next? And it's about safe drinking water. And we have choices with fluoride. You know, we have choices. We have choices about our health and well-being. We have choices. So that's probably about all. I support these recommendations 100%. So that's my stance. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sally. Appreciate some of your input, especially with your health background. Jill, your turn.
Thank you. I support this fully because we're only requesting an extension at this stage. Is the main thing, and I think request is not too strong a word. If you say recommend, it means think about it. Request is, can you please do it? And I think I just think 100% that that's what we need to be doing. Thank you.
And I just had a quick question. I don't know whether Ken can help me with this around, like doing things in conjunction with another council and funding things like tribunal panels. Like what sort of cost is built into that? Like what sort of things are we looking at for that? Are you able to sort of? I know you can't give me a book,
Yeah.
it's just sort of like, is it, what kind of workload does that sort of thing look like? Because I have no idea.
Look. To be honest, neither do I, Ange. So so and whether there's any other. I mean, obviously council would have to be of a mind to do this anyway. Would be the first thing, and then whether any other councils are prepared to to do similar as that's a complete unknown, isn't it? So so look, I honestly couldn't comment on any of those aspects. And in fact, Kane, I mean, have you sort of thought about what some of those costs might be, and do you understand the willingness of other councils to, to do something similar to what you're suggesting that Waipa does?
Yeah, so there are multiple people speaking to multiple councils, and these concerns that I'm raising here are being raised all over the country. So in the 14 council areas in particular, I believe there, and I'm just guessing, but I believe that there would be an appetite to get to the bottom of this issue finally, where we can have a panel, as they did in Hamilton in 2013 when they had their tribunal panel there. So in terms of costs, I mean, I would expect the Ministry of Health, they are a publicly funded organisation, I would expect them to be just fronting up, to be honest, and the experts on the other side, well, there's access to those people as well. And I don't believe there'd be a large cost for them to join. So what I'm saying is if you shared the cost over 60 odd councils, I don't believe this would be a huge cost to one particular council in particular.
Yeah. So look, through the chair, respectful of the chair. Do you know? I mean, so what I've picked up from that is, people are lobbying other councils to do a similar thing to what you're requesting here. But do you know if that's been successful, or is it too early in the piece?
If you watch all the council footage where they have been having these conversations, they're definitely reaching out to the likes of Nick Smith to understand exactly what he's done, and also go back to the Director General of Health. So this is happening over the last sort of week. Multiple different councils have been contacted. So this is an issue that is definitely live. It's not just a Waipa or Cambridge issue.
Okay, thanks for the clarification on that, Kane. Lou?
Point of clarification, really. We had the people attend Cambridge Was there any motion produced from that or any directive?
They couldn't because it was a public forum, so they
Okay,
couldn't
yeah,
take it any further at this
No
point.
further, so it stayed on the table, or is
Well,
it is a
it
live
wasn't an
issue?
agenda item, so that it was, they had come
I
as
realise
part
that.
of the public forum, so they couldn't do anything with
I
it.
realise that. I was saying, was there any further discussion or agenda?
Oh,
Do you know, Joe?
I don't know. I didn't watch the whole meeting.
No, as it was, yeah, as it was a public forum, it was just an opportunity
realise
for
that,
questions
yeah,
and
yeah.
answers. And then that's something that then, as you're aware, that with public forum items, that then the board kind of can go away and decide what they want to do, if they want to do anything out of that. So there's a kind of a, and whether it goes anywhere after that. So there's a bit of an exercise that goes on after the public forum in that space.
That's what I was asking. Yeah. The
Yeah,
other
so we
thing,
don't know
just
what
a
that is yet.
clarification, was that when I became a councillor, I signed and stated an oath to obey the government of the day. Now, and the Director General gives us a directive. We do not have the right to step aside. It is a directive from a head of a government department, guaranteed, and it's passed by the government. We can ask our politicians and we can do things, but to go against that directive in its current state directly to the Ministry of Health is not the right approach. We've got to approach our politicians. Shane Betty would be the right person to change, simply because that was a directive that we must comply with.
So the High Court ruled that it's an unlawful directive. That's the thing. And all this is asking is for an extension to the 31st of December. This isn't saying we don't agree with it. This is saying we want an extension, right? I don't actually think that part of this is actually that just like contestable, to be honest. I think we should all be pretty clear on that. And then the other parts is to try and get to the bottom of this issue finally.
I just had a couple of things that I wanted to point out. In your agenda, you'll see that there is a letter from Dr. Nick Smith to Dr. Shane Retty doing exactly that as the Mayor of Nelson
Yeah.
I've
read that.
So that's exactly what he's done. There's a letter there ready to go. So that fixes John's problem potentially of having someone write it. We can copy it. I also just wanted to, before we move any motions, I just wanted to double check because I know Bruce has raised this before using the word request. For me, I find request as a polite word. However, we seem to be at odds with this. So from the staff, would you prefer that we use the word recommend, request? Is there an issue with this word? Because, like if Bruce is finding it offensive, are other people? For the want of a better word. I know that you don't want to use offensive, but you know what I mean. Have we got a better word? It's a bit strong, is it?
I've always thought, Ange, that a community board was a recommending body, really. So it's just whether you want to be pedantic about other words, they recommend, they're not decision making. So you've got to be careful with what not cause offence to where further up. The Lord and I have to come, we might have to make a decision.
Okay, well, I just want to clarify it so that if Kane feels that he wants to amend his word, that word before we move the motion, that he has that opportunity.
Okay, I'll make a couple of little changes then. So,
well, just before you move your motion, I just had a couple of other quick things I wanted to mention. One, from my perspective, being in Te Awamutu, and the main issue is Cambridge, that if we were in a similar situation, I certainly would appreciate support from the other side of the district on something like this. I did watch the start of that meeting, and there are, as Sally pointed out, having 60 or 70 people turn up to a community board meeting is a very strong indication that there are a lot of people concerned about this, and it is a topic that people are worried and passionate about. And I also, one last thing, in regard to the fluoride, I do stand to be corrected, but my understanding, John, is that when we were kids and had fluoride tablets, they were actually made out of different stuff to what's being proposed to go in the water. So I do stand to be corrected, but I've been told that a number of times by various people that it's actually a different product. So on that, Kane, would you like to move your motions and then we'll go from there?
How would you like me to change the wording?
Do you want to change it?
You don't have to, I'm just asking.
I will. So, but at this,
Through the chair, just, I mean, because Kane has just asked a question, it's perhaps the, it's, because you use requests quite a few times through this, don't you? Because you're requesting both Waipa District Council to do something as well as the Director General of Health to do something. But Bruce, you could perhaps clarify. I think your main concern was a request of the of Waipa District Council, wasn't it? And to be fair, I think normally this this is a relatively emotive issue. appreciate that. But look, normally this board in bringing something to the council would probably recommend, wouldn't it? So perhaps a bit of a starting suggestion is perhaps at the beginning of each of the 3 paragraphs, that maybe this might address it, that it be that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board recommend that and then the Director General thing you could still retain request on that. But I'd recommend the first sentence of each one, or the first request, be just change that word to recommend. I'm not sure if that does it for Councillor Thomas, but yeah, but that would be my suggestion to move forward.
yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. So that's great. And then also the third recommendation, that last sentence, the Ministry of Health is a biased entity, I'm happy to have that removed as well. The very last sentence, the Ministry of Health, yep.
Sally, yes?
Could we put something about a democratic process in there, Kane?
No, I'm happy with this.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So how do you... Okay, so I'd like to move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board recommend that the Waipa District Council request the Director General of Health for an extension to the deadline of the Fluoridation Directive to 31 December 2024 in alignment with the extension provided to Nelson City Council on 22 February 2024. Secondly, that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board recommend that the Waipa District Council request the Director General of Health review the most up-to-date science and request an independent panel of experts to review the science, as was done in the National Research Council in 2006 Fluoride Toxicity Report, where there was a panel including scientists for, against and neutral. Thirdly, that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board recommend that the Waipa District Council, in conjunction with other councils, fund a tribunal panel where both sides of the argument can be heard in public. This will allow a panel and opposing sides to ask relevant questions to each other to identify the facts on fluoridation.
Right, so can I please have someone to second that? Jill? Those in favour?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm, so for, against? John? And,
I said that right to start.
sorry, I missed that. So councillors are abstaining? Yep, no, that's all right. Sorry, I just missed that bit, Lou. Yep, no, that's okay. All
Do
fine.
you want that recorded, the abstention and the against?
No, we're doing 2 things. No, you guys are abstaining. Yeah, do you want that recorded for abstaining? Yep. John, do you want to be recorded as being against? Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right. Okay, onwards and upwards. We move now to item number 6, which is the local alcohol report. And my goodness, there was a lot of reading there. So pages 30 to 221. Is Mika?
Should be.
Kia ora, I am here. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Mika, perfectly, thank you. So we will take your massive amount of work as read. Might be a good start. And but if there's anything you'd want to highlight before we start bombing you with questions or have any comments, if you want to run us through anything that you just want to highlight, that'd be
Thanks,
great.
Ange.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so I just wanted to update you, I guess. So the early feedback is open at the moment for just 3 questions on the local alcohol policy. So what we're doing at the moment is still trying to put together the draft, which the rest of it has come from consultation with the Kihikihi or Te Awamutu Kihikihi Community Board, Cambridge Community Board, Parongia Ward, and the mayor and councillors. So these questions that are open for early feedback at the moment do stem from that initial engagement with yourselves, and I guess from that initial engagement with yourselves and the rest of the elected members, it did become apparent that there's quite a lot to it, and so just to make it a bit easier for the community, we've broken it down to smaller sections, so quite targeted questions, but they are the same questions that have been put to you previously. But yeah, thank you very much for reading that report. I appreciate that it's quite large and there's a lot to it. So thank you. But yeah, that's just the background information to this. So the early feedback closes on Friday. Would appreciate if you have anything to say, or if you have any clarification that you need, please ask. Otherwise, yeah, it's open online and you're welcome to contribute. That's me.
Cool, thanks, Mika. Have we got any questions or anything that needed clarifying before we have our discussion around what, as a community board, we would like to provide in our submission? Jill?
No, can I just say it was very comprehensive, but I haven't got any questions. I think you've answered them, and by hearing earlier on about the different things too, when we had a talk here, we could, understand a bit and ask questions, but I think it had most of the answers and gives us a clear idea of where to go from here. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, I should probably just clarify that once we've gotten all the feedback from this and had a closer look at it, it will all go into the draft, which you will see before it goes out again. So we will workshop that draft as well.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mika, because that was really helpful. And yeah, definitely congratulations to you and the team on a huge amount of work collating all that and putting it together, because there certainly was a lot of detail and a lot of research gone into it, which it certainly makes our decision-making process hopefully very well informed. So no, thank you. Sally.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I have got a question. Thanks, Mika, for all the hard work and your team. It's pretty amazing. I see that you've taken on board suggestions that we made earlier, knowing an awful lot. I came across the piece that recommended on page 48 about off licenses and being in the policy, the requirement for closed circuit television. And I would have thought that a store would be interested in doing that personally themselves anyway, probably for their own safety, their staff safety and insurance purposes. So I'm just curious as to why the necessity for it to be in the policy, please.
Contrary to popular belief, they are not so keen on having CCTV for various reasons, which I won't go into here, but yeah, it's
Okay.
definitely not a requirement, and there's definitely places that they might have it, but they might not have the recordings available when the inspectors ask. So it's just trying to help the police, the inspectors, and the medical officer of health essentially do their checkups.
That answer your question, Sally? Oh, she's stuck.
I see. Thank you.
Let's go with yes, that answered her question. Oh, no, maybe she might be coming back now.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, good as gold. You're just glitching a little bit. Did anyone else have anything that you wanted to ask
No.
at all? No? All right. Shall we get underway with our discussion? So to kick off with, I presume it's probably easier to go through each of the options like what we talked about and then move the whole lot at the end. Yep. Okay, so as Mika pointed out, there are three main questions. So we probably be just as easy to start with those. So the first question that we have is how close should off licences be to each other? And our options were the District Licensing Committee should decide if this is relevant or not when they look at an individual application, and that's the current policy. B, 1 kilometre apart, C, 500 metres apart, D, 250 metres apart, and E, other. So has anyone got any comments on those or would like to see something different? Or what sort of discussion would you like to have around that? Jill?
I think as it stands at the moment. Yeah.
Leave it the same?
Yep.
Lou?
Yeah, I just like to add this question. Sorry, this question actually raises an issue with me. If we consider putting a cap, which I'm very, very keen on, okay, as it is, what exists will exist. And just leave it at that, leave it under that, rather than putting in a piece of legislation for a distance between them all, because they exist in those situations now, and just leave them under those situations. That was my thought.
They did say, Mika, correct me if I'm wrong, it did clarify somewhere to say that any existing ones aren't impacted, doesn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, we're specifically trying to write the policy to not affect existing licenses.
It's just for new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a cap, that precludes that.
Once you reach the cap,
It's already, the cap is what it is now.
assuming.
Just to clarify, the first question is the distances between off licenses. The next one is the cap.
Yeah.
So that we're looking at them as individual.
No,
But I
you've got-
hear what you're saying, but what say you're below the cap and you can have a couple of new ones?
No, I'm saying that the cap is as it exists now.
Yeah, but they might close and then will you just drop the cap?
Somebody can purchase that business.
Well, what say they don't? Just
Well, okay.
hypothetically, what say they don't? And two shut. And then you can have two new ones. So therefore, the distance rule could potentially kick in. It might not,
But
but
you've got the situation in Pack and Save and how close, the big barrel is. So what is that? That's 250 metres? Yeah. If that?
probably. Well, Fresh
So-
Choice
so
and the
what
bottle
I'm
are
saying, I'm just
closer.
looking at what exists now currently in our town. So you could use it, but 250 would be that's where they are now.
Well, it doesn't have to be based on what they are now because again, we're looking at new ones, so they could be further. But
I wouldn't argue, so.
so, all right, well, so does the general, we've got to come up with a decision. So from the perspective of how far away they are, would you prefer to go with what's currently, which is that the District Licensing Committee decides whether it's relevant at the time? Or would you prefer that there is a fixed difference?
Angela, personally, I'd like to see it stay as is because I think that District Licensing Committee takes into more than distance into consideration. So
Yeah. Okay, so are we happy with that, that we go with that? Yep, okay, so A is, A is A.
Any comments?
Any other comments that you'd like me to add? I can always add a few extra, like sort of a comment in regard to, if I said something along the lines that we feel that they will look at each individual application on its merit and based on where it's likely to go and how that may impact existing ones. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Hopefully I can remember it.
We look at each individually.
Case on its merit.
merits
Yeah.
And how that might impact other
Yeah.
licenses.
Yeah, perfect. I don't know how you do that, Joe. I can
that's-
hardly remember what I've just said.
We've got
Okay, the next question is number 2. Should there be a limit on the number of off licences in the Waipa district? What do we have for that one? So the question itself reads, should there be a limit on the number of off licences in the Waipa district? Currently, there is no limit on how many off licences there can be in our district. Setting a limit on the number of off licences may help minimise exposure and access to alcohol while still providing a reasonable number of places for people to buy and sell alcohol. Any sort of limit on the number of off licences would need to be easy to comply with and keep in mind population growth. So our options are A, no, which is the current policy. B, yes, a total limit for all Waipa. It doesn't matter what town or village the off licence is located in. This will most likely be the number of off licences in operation when the local alcohol policy is adopted. And C, yes, a cap on the total number of off licences for each of the main town centres. This will most likely be the number of off licences in operation in the area shown on the maps below. Some exceptions, such as manufacturers, might apply following feedback. For example, if the local alcohol policy was adopted at the start of February 2024 for the next 6 years, Te Awamutu Central would have 7 off licences, Te Awamutu Cambridge Road would have 2, Kihikihi would have 2, Cambridge Central would have 8, Leamington Central would have 4, and Leamington North would have 2. And it does say that the boundaries are indicative only and subject to change. And then option D would be other. So, Lou, you thought, do you want to start? So you were quite keen on a cap? Yep.
Can I ask Mika, with Pirongia, okay, that's out of the equation at the moment. What happens in the future? Nana Peru decides to, and you've got a caps, and I don't see Pirongia even mentioned there as having an off license.
Yeah, the reason Pirongia, like Nahinapuri, Ohopo are not in those maps for the town centres is because they are growth areas, and so staff think it's appropriate to maybe leave them out of the central caps for now, to allow them that growth, because off licenses do include supermarkets as well, and you probably want to leave room for that in the future.
No, thank you. That's good.
Okay. Anyone got any comments on that or any preferences from people they've talked to, or Lou?
Just a quick comment, Mika. What happens in Australia at the moment is the supermarkets were actually banned from selling alcohol. Is there a likelihood of that actually occurring in our location?
We don't have
know,
control over that.
I know, that's
yeah.
outside local. That would be a national thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, you got any comments? So a cap? Okay, so I just had a little chat with one of the off licenses to sort of just get a little bit of a feel. They made a comment that if you start capping the off licenses, we'll probably get the most pushback from the supermarkets. But they felt that it actually would be a good idea because they could see the benefit of it not only protecting their business, but it meant it was safer for the community because you're not getting the price gouging and things like that you would get in a normal supply and demand type of scenario, like what you would do with regular businesses if you opened a, like a fish and chip shop. Whoever's got the cheapest and the best fish and chips will win, but with alcohol, you can't really make too much difference in your product, but you certainly can cut your price. So it was just a comment from that side of it. Wearing my social services hat, definitely, and looking at the statistics so far, Te Awamutu or Waipa certainly seems to be fairly well catered for in terms of off licences between supermarkets and the little bottle-o big barrel type places. Mika, I did just wonder in regard to if the cap was going to be based on current numbers, just hypothetically, if there was a new supermarket built, that would mean that that supermarket wouldn't be allowed to have any alcohol being sold from it. So should it maybe just have a little bit of movement there?
Yeah, you can.
Where those, like those big growth areas.
Well, it depends. It depends which of the caps you would be looking at. If you're looking at a district-wide or within those areas that are outlined in the maps, because those areas outlined in the maps, yes, you could definitely put another supermarket there, but it's pretty at capacity at the moment, which is why those areas have been selected. It's sort of at its growth limit probably for the next 6 years. Yeah, so if you did have a district-wide cap, you would be stopping supermarkets from selling alcohol, and so yeah, they might not want to open, but theoretically they could just sell other stuff.
Okay, Jam. So on that note then, just for clarification, so I get the feeling that we're pretty much sitting in the C department, but within that, do you want to, just make sure I've read this right. So if we're doing C, we're just looking at the main town centres. So have I got that right? That's everybody's happy with that? Okay. Any extra comments around that you would like me to add in? No, we're just happy to say C and cap it at where it currently is, or do we think that we should have a little bit of an allowance? I think we've got lots. But
Through you, Madam Chair, just quickly, would you leave in your other, adopt your cap, just to leave the leeway for the licensing, local liquor licensing authority to review and decide on the validity. So it gives them some leeway. So if you had that exceptional circumstance, it could be utilised.
Yep, I quite like that. What does everyone? Yep. Okay, so we'll say we go for C, but we would like to have the option that I think the licensing inspectors have all said about just again looking at each case on its merit, and in the event that it would be appropriate to have no, it's not specifically, but I mean we can answer that, but we can have a. Okay, is that all right? And I'll just carry on next week. Or the committee, licensing committee. Yeah. Yes, perfect. We haven't got the perfect word today. Oh, that's all right, we can fix that. There's a little red line under that one that helps out. Cool, perfect. So, cool, no, that sounds great. Righto, what should be the maximum trading hours for off licences? Now, again, the discussion around this was quite interesting. because the liquor store I went to doesn't even open at 7 o'clock. And their comment was, well, we don't even open until 10 o'clock. They also felt that 9 o'clock would actually be more than adequate. You basically open for a pretty long time. Most people only trade from 9 till 5, most retailers. So they're getting pretty long hours anyway, and they didn't feel that that would be too big a deal. They did comment that the supermarkets might not be so happy with that, for people going in early, I suppose heading off to the beach or whatever, wanting to be able to buy their alcohol at the same time. But I certainly thought that reduced hours would be helpful, because basically the people that are in there at 7 o'clock in the morning and last thing at night are possibly the people that need a little bit of help and encouragement not to be going to the bottle store at that hour. And I'm sure the rest of us can be in a state that we can be organised enough to go the night before it closes, to get our liquor to head off on our fishing trip or whatever. We don't need to be doing it at 7 o'clock in the morning. So that was just my feeling, but Jill?
Yeah, no, totally agree. I can remember a few years ago that the supermarkets were not allowed to sell alcohol before 10 o'clock in the morning, and the bottle stores were not allowed to open until 11 o'clock in the morning, but that's changed. But I personally, and I've talked to a few people, think that, about selling from 7 o'clock in the morning, people didn't realise that you could do that. So the people I've spoken to, in my view, is that bottle store and supermarkets should be able to sell from 10 to 10, and hotels and restaurants and bars from 10 to 1 a.m. Thank you.
Cool. We've got anyone else that wants to make... Oh, I didn't read this out properly, did I? Sorry. So the actual question says, what should the maximum trading hours be for off licences? There is evidence that off licences with longer opening hours are more likely to contribute to alcohol-related harm. Reducing the hours when off licences can sell alcohol may help reduce alcohol-related harm, but still enable people to buy and sell alcohol. So the options were 7 till 10, pardon me, B, 7 a.m. until 9, C, 8 a.m. until 10, and D, other. So sorry, what was yours, Jill?
10 till 10.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. 10 till 10.
Okay. Right, what does everybody else think?
Sorry, can I
regard to
just
that?
add a bit of information, just going off
Yes.
what you guys have said so far. So a lot of so there hasn't been a lot of local alcohol policies. Lots of them got stuck in the hearings or appeals process, which is now gone as of August last year. But what we've learnt from that is that it could be quite difficult to justify splitting different types of off licenses from each other. So splitting your supermarkets from your bottle stores. And so, yeah, just the same thing with the hours. They do operate quite differently, but we'd have to justify quite strongly why you'd give one set of hours to one type of off license and a different set of hours to another off license. Just legally, that could be quite difficult. And something that fell out of the talking to all the elected members last year was also, yes, you could be better organised, but those perhaps dairy farmers who do their shopping, straight after they've milked the cows, or the people who work night shifts who might get their groceries at either end of the day. So just, trying to remember those people as well. We're trying to make it easy for everyone. Just a bit of extra information that picked up along the way.
That is true. Okay, so where are we at with this? Do we like the 10 till 10 idea, or have we got another idea, letting them close a little bit earlier? In Te Awamutu, I know Fresh Choice closes at 9. Woolworths does close at 10. So, and Pack and Save, I'm pretty sure, closes at 9 o'clock. So we have 2 supermarkets here that close at 9 anyway. However, it would obviously have to be across the district for the times. You wouldn't want to be saying one side's one thing, but do we like 10 till 10 or would we rather see 10 till 9? Any movement there?
Well, Sally, you're just on mute.
I mean, they can still close earlier if they want to. They don't have to be open until 10 o'clock. But interestingly, talking with the bottle store, that last hour, it certainly buttons right off. And if there's going to be trouble, that is the time that they do have noticeably more issues. So just as, and I'm purely passing on information. I don't have a specific opinion. And keep in mind that was a liquor store. I'm not speaking on behalf of all of the liquor stores in Te Awamutu. I'm happy to shoot round to all of them and see what they say and come back to you guys and just flick you a quick email and say, actually, they're all saying this. But if we, yeah, it's just if we want to leave that a little bit open or if we want to lock it in. John?
I'm happy with the 8 to 10.
Still on mute.
Okay, so now we've got 10 till 10, 8 till 10.
I did have an 8 to 10, being honest, John, so.
All right, so I suppose the best thing we can do is who's in favour of 8 till 10? Can I have just a raise of hands? All right, so we'll go 8 till 10. Okay.
Perhaps I should just declare an interest with the RSA.
No, you're not an off licence.
No.
Are there any other comments in regard to those trading hours? Another comment that was made from the liquor store maker was that they felt that it would be really helpful to have the opportunity for the liquor stores and the police and the licensing to come together to be able to discuss options around how best to manage people that potentially could be a problem, and just to be able to discuss any security issues or just any questions and things that they might have. He said, the person I spoke to said, you know, they felt that it would be really helpful. And just as a little example, you know, like even, and I'm not sure that the police would be allowed to do this, but, you know, if there are specific people that they know in the community that once they start drinking, it might be possibly because there's a mental health issue, that it's really not a great thing for them to be being served alcohol. But that was just a little bit of feedback from them. He felt that it would be really helpful as a liquor outlet to be able to have maybe once a year that something's organised for them to get together with the police and the licensing.
Yeah, there is, obviously I don't know who you spoke to, but there's quite a lot actually in what you just said. So we have provided sort of the same opportunity that we've given you here for the license holders to sit down and discuss what they want, what they need, what they think of any proposed changes. So that's going to happen at the start of April. And if that is, you know, if we're getting that message, then we'll definitely follow it up. But in terms of shaping the local alcohol policy, I'm not sure that the police and the licensing inspectors and MIH can participate in that, because they sort of have to be a bit of a neutral party in the shaping of it until they get their designated time. But I do know there is a thing called Club Champs, where all the license holders are encouraged to participate. And I'm not 100% on what it is. I haven't attended one myself, but I understand it is sort of a one of those that I think the police, definitely the licensing inspectors, participate in sharing information, making sure everyone understands what is required from them, the conditions on their license. And if they have any questions, that would be the place for it. I'm not sure how invites to that are distributed, but I do know it's not just a Waipa thing, it's a, regional thing.
Okay, I can go back and check with him and see if he knows anything about it and maybe find out for him.
Yeah, I think the
Or
next one in
get him to
Waipa is on the
ask.
8th of April.
Oh, yep. Just check that he knows. I'm sure he probably does, but it was just some feedback that I thought while we were talking about this, it was helpful.
Yeah,
So,
that's good, thank you.
So that's our main 3 questions, but we can provide feedback on other parts of the policy, can't we?
Yes, but that will be later. So just from doing this, we've definitely realized that it would be easier for you to see the thing as a whole. Otherwise we'd have to drag out specific questions like this for the whole document. And it just loses a bit of nuance when you do that. So yeah, next step is basically we're going to put all of this feedback together, create a draft, and then we'll come back with that draft.
So hang on a minute. So we're going to provide feedback just on 3 bits, but if there's something else that we feel really strongly about, we're just leaving that to go into the draft and we go,
The
oh,
draft,
yes.
basically. The draft. So.
Which usually, based on experience, we don't really get much say in that to change it. It'll be a draft and we either get to say, yes, it's good, yep, or okay, fine.
Oh, don't worry. We'll sit down and have a proper chat.
Because
it's before it goes out for public consultation.
Because I feel quite strongly about the recommendation for a new licence to go in the commercial area in regard to boundaries. That like what the health officers and the inspectors are saying, that sensitive areas should be protected and any boundary, it should be treated the same as the residential, and any boundary should be taken into consideration, not just the 45-degree frontage. And the reason that I feel so strongly about that is because it was only a stroke of absolute good luck that the Presbyterian Church happened to squeeze in by a slither within that frontage. Otherwise, we would have had an off licence sitting right beside the Rewe Street Kindergarten and across from a drug and alcohol service, across from the church. And I don't, so that's it. But I wanted to be able to make that comment through here if everybody else supported it.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think you might have made a similar comment last time I was with you, and that's definitely one of the things that has been tweaked. But yeah, no, don't worry. You will see the draft, and so you will have a genuine chance to look at what that looks like before it goes out for the before it goes out as the official draft.
Okay, cool. All right. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mika. So is there anything else that we want to add to this? That's it? Okay, all right. Well, if we're happy with that. Do you want me to?
Where did you land on that?
Sorry, we just got to. Okay, righto, let's get this moved. So I'll move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives a report of Mika Hines, Strategic Policy Advisor, titled Local Alcohol Policy Off-Licence Engagement ECM, and we are going to provide the following feedback on the local alcohol policy off-licence engagement. So items 1 and 3 are the same as what we've got. No, hang on, I've got that wrong way long. Hang on, no, I need to read this out. Sorry, I'm getting myself fuddled. So how close should off-licences be to each other? 1, option A, District Licensing Committee should decide. And 2, other comments to cover looking at each individual case on its merits and how that might impact other licences. And then question 2, should there be a limit on the number of off licences in the Waipa district? We've gone for option C, a total cap of the number of off licences for each of the main town centres. And 2, other comments to provide a further recommendation to the option presented as option C, that the District Licensing Committee should retain an element of discretion in relation to any cap. And then thirdly, what should the maximum trading hours be for off licences? Option C, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then what have we got? And C is as in the report. I knew there was a bit that said as in the report. Can I have someone to second that, please? Kane, all in favour? Against? Carried. Super duper. Thank you, Mika, for that. And hopefully all going to plan. I will get that to you in the nick of time. So look out for it at 4 to 5 on the Friday. I'm sorry I can't go home and do it right now because I'm getting up at 3 o'clock to take the boy to Auckland Airport in the morning. So it'll have to be when I get back. Okay, let's move on to item, do you want that? Front page. Sorry. Item 7, the Treasury report, which is on pages 222 to 224. So actually we can just move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives report of Nader Milne, Financial Accountant, titled Treasury Report for the period ended 29th February 2024. I'm happy to move that. Can I have someone to second it? John, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. So is there anything that anyone wanted to pull out of that? Treasury. No, we're happy with that. All looks pretty. I don't think I had any notes on that. There was did actually want to ask you something about. No, I think I answered it myself. No, everybody happy with that? Okay, we can move on to item 8, the return of unused funds on page 225. So this is just in regard to some uncommitted discretionary funds that we didn't use to purchase replacement flags, and that's to the sum of $187.19. So is there any issues around that? Okay, good as gold. Let's get that moving then. So I'll move that the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board A receives a report of Joe Greed, Manager Governance, titled Return of Unused Funds, and B approves the return to its uncommitted discretionary funds of the sum of $187.19 from prior year commitments that is no longer required for the purchase of replacement flags from Resolution 6/22/87. Jill to second. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Are you guys happy? Is there a problem down the end there? Cool. Okay. On to item 9, which is the chair report. I've got a few little different topics in here, so I'm going to have to go through so I can remember. The result of the SPMP, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Thank you to the staff in regard to their comment, just to reiterate that they're going to be meeting with us and the other stakeholders. So we look forward to that. The Homes Garage was just a quick update. Clean up Te Awamutu. So we had a great day. We picked up 100 kilograms of rubbish, Kane said. So, but I'm going to hand over to Kane because it was his baby. So I'll give it to you just to talk to that.
Yeah, thanks very much. Through you, Madam Chair. So we had a really good day actually. It was quite casual in terms of coming together, but we had good support from council staff, so I really appreciate that. And I think we're quite keen to continue this on. So the thinking is every 6 months now we'll have something similar. We'll put potentially a bit more thought into how we can grow the numbers, grow the area, and potentially get out to Kihikihi. I just want to thank Roger from Eco Maintenance, who helped on the morning. He did a fantastic job, and he's keen to stay involved with that as well. So yeah, 100 kilos was collected. I think the total cost for the day was around $175 all up. So thank you for the food, Jill and Sally, and those members who came along and supported. Thank you very much. So we'll work out a specific date and I'll circulate that to you guys for the next one.
Cool. And yeah, and by the sounds of it, people were keen to come along again. The Tramping Club were super keen, and it was also a great opportunity to sit down and just have a casual chat with the people from the community and get a little bit of sort of feedback on what they thought about different things and taking part in the rubbish collection. Yeah, and thank you from me to Kane for organising it and to the team for coming along. It was actually quite a fun morning, and the lovely baking and things that you guys made for us. It was really cool. And also, Sally, thank you for bringing all the flyers and different information things. I think that's also an opportunity that we can build on when we go to events as well, and even to help promote things like Anteno and Word on Waipa. That, like if people aren't already receiving those things, or particularly Word on Waipa, they might like to leave us an email address that we can bring back to the office. Can we do that? And so that they can keep up to date, because I know I've struck a few people and had someone there that said, oh, how do we know what's going on if it's not in the paper or something? And I said, well, there are these things. And they go, oh, well, I don't use technology. I'm not very keen on that. And could they not send us all an email? And I went, well, there is Word on Waipa, but you need to provide your email address. So that could be something we look at. Anyway, so no, well done and thank you. Right, CCTV. So I received a response in regard to the CCTV. Apparently, our original suggestion was to have multiple cameras along Lion Street. I've been on that committee, and I'm afraid I must have been asleep. I missed that, but my recollection was we wanted one at Whitmore Street. And as a community board member, that with Richard Hurrell, that was where we were most keen. But hopefully there will be some more money at some point that we can get one there, because it's definitely a key intersection with a lot of traffic going in and out. But they've given us a pretty comprehensive answer in regard to what the Safer City strategy was. So that's the answer to that. The stream cleanup. I've mentioned there that I've had a few people come and ask us about that. So staff have come back and said that the stream isn't within their, what's the right word? The banks are managed by the council, but the Waikato Regional Council manages the actual stream. So is it something that as a community board we'd like to investigate a little bit further and just approach the Waikato Regional Council and find out how we might go about that? Because there is a lot of rubbish in the stream. I see by one of the bridges there's actually a fire door off someone's fire that's down there, and cones and a whole lot of paving. They'll be able to fix just about the whole of the walkway at one point from the amount of paving stones that have been biffed in at various points. So, yeah, just a...
I think it would be good to know how far in the stream they would like this area cleaned up. So are they just specifically within the town boundary, or what are they talking?
Oh, town boundary, or the ones that I've
Like
talked to, like
literally.
when you cross the bridges and you look over and there's just all this rubbish in the stream. I'd like to think that out on the farms and things that there's not masses of rubbish because you're not getting the same problem with most likely kids thinking it's funny hiffing stuff or drunk people chucking things over the bridge sides, I imagine.
So so there's the group that cleans it up, or there is an
Yes.
action group already.
Yes.
Are they active? Do we know how active they are at all?
So I haven't had a chance to catch up with them, so I thought that could be a good starting point to possibly just contact the region with Stu Kneebone and ask him and like what staff have suggested that we have a chat to the stream care group and just see what they can do. So
Do that as a start, and then we can
yeah,
see how
okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
just do it as a start.
Okay, well, let's just informally get more information on that and then we can go from there. Yep. Okay, cool. The drones, again, thank you very much for very comprehensive background information. I didn't actually expect that. I was just sort of more thinking along the lines of us just writing a polite letter to Waipa Networks asking if there was any chance that they could broaden their communications. I'm happy to write that letter or just actually have an informal discussion with Anna, who's the community relations lady who I know, just to say that we'd had a few people were a bit concerned with the drones and was there an opportunity to broaden their method of letting people know when they're doing that drone work?
Yeah, so we received the letter from a lady who is sort of advocating on behalf of a more elderly person, and she wrote me an email or letter, I think. So I think we should probably put it in. It'd be quite good to get it in writing, just so we can sort of just say that we've done that. And it's just interesting. There's another drone. Oh, it's just happened actually, 22nd to the 25th. So these things are happening quite a lot often, and I just wonder if we just request that. Are they putting it? Are they putting could they advertise it in the paper or think of the more elderly residents?
Yeah.
And just see what the response is and go from there, I think.
Okay, cool. So we'll work on that. Is everybody else comfortable for us to go ahead with that? Yep.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. Just to say that's the most efficient way of actually looking at the power was. There's no better way than doing it.
Yeah, there's no doubt
Absolutely.
about that.
I mean,
It's more the awareness.
My own granddaughter actually has a drone license, works commercially, so do know a wee bit about it. And there's a huge amount of civil aviation legislation that they have to comply with, where they can fly, how high they can fly, etc.
I think it's not so much those guys that are the big issue, it's some of the more casual ones that, I know we've got one just down the road from us and he whizzes around over my house, and if I had a shotgun, I know what I'd be doing with the drone. Am I allowed to say that? But I live in town, so I wouldn't be allowed, but I'd really like to. Oh no, he takes it out there. I think that's why. So it goes over my house and back round, and it's horrible. But anyway, he's having fun. So I just blocked my ears. Right, so the next one was the Pikoro Reserve Dog Park. So there were a number of things there, and I just made a list because those were the things that the people brought up while I was there visiting. It's a really neat little park, and a few of the things that need doing aren't expensive at all, like putting something under the gate to stop like my dog's reasonably big and he just bolted clean underneath the gate. So there's a couple of things there that aren't expensive. Moving the dogs on lead sign that as you come into the park's kind of on the ground. So unless you're looking in the garden, you wouldn't even see it. So I see here it says will depend on existing LTP, but I would have thought that some of those things actually are just a couple of little maintenance things that I don't really think they would feature in the LTP. So I'm not quite sure how we progress that, but from an annual plan perspective, maybe the suggestions where I said about trees and seats, maybe we could pop that into a request in our annual plan. Do you think that that could be an appropriate place to put those slightly
saying
bigger
that-
items?
Yeah,
But
it's a bigger item, but in the LTP, it's a developing park, all right? So it's new, it's a developing park. So I think that it goes into the LTP and it will rely, like everything, but controlled by Ken over the other side there. We're cutting every penny. At the
yeah,
moment.
but there's,
And we have to be aware of the funding restraints that we're living under. And we are under significant restraints.
and we absolutely are, but also there are other ways to be able to do some of these things. You know, we might be able to apply for some money or, you know, use a little bit of our, you know, surely how much is a seat? I don't think they're a lot, are they? We're asking for a seat and some trees.
The seat's not much, it's a
I mean, I'll donate the tree, you know, and we can have a little
Council policies.
working bee down there and plant the tree and donate the tree, you know, like there are ways to do it, as long as we can get permission to be able to do that. So, okay. The cemetery, so I would like to reply to that in that every time I speak with someone who contacts me, I always, and I have said this before, encourage those people to firstly contact the desk or to use Anteno. It's part of my rhetoric when I'm talking to people when they've got things that are going wrong. In this particular case, this lady has she told me she has contacted council on a number of occasions. So I said, well, I would be happy to bring it to their attention and to see if we could help support having those trees looked at and if there was any chance that the road up there was going to be fixed. And I see that it was in that plan, and knowing that the cemeteries were due to be updated and repaired and things like that, that it was in the pipeline. But I suppose I was hoping that in light of that, that there might have been some sort of time frame of when that may happen, seeing as it, one, the trees are a maintenance issue, and secondly, so's the roading. But as you can, there's a response there to say that it's on a renewal program, so I'll just let the lady know that that's what's going to happen. And then last but not least is the Awamutu eyesite, and it's been recommended that the most appropriate forum to discuss potential funding is through the council budget process, and doing that through the enhanced annual plan. So just wondering where people sat on that. Do we want to support it? Is it something we want to make as part of our submission to the annual plan? If anyone's got any comments on that. I know I've had lots of people in the public come and be quite surprised that it's been cut. So that's just a bit of feedback that I've been receiving from various places, and I was quite surprised at just general public. I didn't think they would be quite so passionate about it.
I think we can sort of review that and add it into our annual plan feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other comments in regard to that report or any of those items?
Just with that, Ange, too, I've had a lot of people very upset about talking to me about the information centre too, that the money's been cut there. And of course, general public saying, why there? There's lots of other places they could have cut. So a lot of people are very upset about it. I haven't talked to anyone who agrees with it. But moving forward, if we can somehow urge the community or different groups to support it financially, that'd be great. I know there's one local group that's going to offer a little bit of money to them, and if other groups can follow, which it sounds like they might, that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
So we can just support those groups.
Yeah. Nice, thank you. Yeah. Righto. Where are we? All right, so let's just move that. I better move that, seeing that's my report. That the Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board receives the report of Angela Holt, Chairperson, Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board, titled Community Board March 2024 Chair Report, and B, receives the staff responses to the Chairperson report. So can I have someone to second that? John, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, so drone policy. Board members' reports from meetings. Item 10, page 239. So have we been anywhere? We got anything to share?
Perhaps today, we had we had a new dump station passed today down at that will be down by the old railway station. So down there, so that they actually passed it today. So I think for the caravan industry, that'll be a big plus for us. Might have to go all the way out to Bromley, as it was before.
Dump station for
Oops, I
caravan.
didn't go.
Yeah, a dump station. It's
Didn't
actually
go
right
far
over the
enough.
top of a waste pipe, so that'll be something quite important.
Okay.
And I suppose we can say we formally stopped selling it, or haven't we paused it? We want to.
But then, that's all right.
Okay. I say information.
No, that's,
Yeah,
that's relevant.
What?
we don't need to approve that now.
Yeah, no, but the dump station. I think.
Oh, yeah, it's good, yeah.
Excuse,
Yeah.
excuse me, Ange. I see in your report you're happy to attend the Anzac Day
Oh, thank you.
service at the Epitaph and laying the wreath, which is great. So do we need to approve the funds for the wreath? No, we don't. Okay. thank
No,
you.
we don't.
Just
And-
thought I'd check on that.
And
I know
also,
we used to, yeah.
yeah, just also a wrong word in there, but tired at the time. It should have been cenotaph, not epitaph.
I know that.
Sorry. So my humble apologies to the RSA and everybody. That was my oops. So if we could, if we could fix that for me, that would be great, because I didn't mean to put epitaph. Oops. However, do we need to make a recommendation to do the submission to the annual plan?
We'll be able to do that next time.
We've got time to do that still, eh?
We've moved on to the next item.
Yeah, no, I
and
know,
you'll
but
be
I'm
able
just
to-
suddenly like, do we run out of time for that? That's all.
No, definitely put it on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I just didn't go over enough pages. I thought that I'd gone through enough and I was done. Right, so sorry, back to things people have been up to and what they've been doing. So Lou, there's the camper vans down by the old railway
Yeah.
station? Yep,
That's been done.
yep. Anything else from council? That community board?
My youth
Oh, sorry, hold on,
programs- oh,
Jill,
sorry.
please. Anything else from council?
Not really at this stage. There's been a pause in a lot of things and funding, so there will be a definite pause. So Ken's probably able to say as much as I, but we are under large financial constraints. I've stated that from an early point, and everyone's got to realise that we're in a very big recessionary mode. There will be a lot of public meetings being organised throughout the community to explain our rate situation at the moment. And we are working with those in Cambridge and Te Awamutu. So, and most of the councillors will be involved in one area or another doing that. So I think that's quite important to develop how our rates got to 14.8% and how, as Bernard just talked to us earlier about, how the funding actually has got to be there. It was more to do with what happened with the three waters, depreciation, inflation, and all of those above issues. So, yeah, that's quite a big thing. On Anzac Day, I'd just like to mention a couple of things. The 19th, we have Poppy Day in Te Awamutu, all over in Cambridge. So that's for everybody to attend. On the 21st, there will be a service at the War Memorial Pukeoa Tua Church. For anybody that's interested, that's a war memorial church that we hold a service at. And we also attend a service at Tokanui Cane. Okay, you missed your last time. Yeah, no,
What-
it is.
what
It
date
is.
was that?
That's at Tokanui inside the Ag Research Station farm. And you go in and you take the first turn to your left, main road, head up past the old shearing shed, and you'll see there'll be a flag flying up. There is a cemetery. It has interned, I think, about 600 people interred there. So it is quite a significant, and we've got a plinth, and we have a little memorial service because there are a number of service personnel, one from the Boer War I know of, quite a number from the First World War, and a few from the Second World War. So they've been interred there over the years. So, and Anzac Day, of course, is Dawn Parade in the morning here. Cambridge will be different to us. We also have a service at Kihikihi, and that will be at 8:45. Okay, outside at the memorial at Kihikihi, Civic Parade at 11.
Okay, cool, thank you. And we've got urban miners on the 7th. Does that sound right? On the Sunday. So not this coming, not Easter Sunday, but the following Sunday. Cool. Okay. All right, so that's cool. Okay, Jill, now all up to you.
I know, but first I appreciate what Bernard's question was about the ratepayers, and I appreciate what Lou has said that, you know, there will be meetings and notifications why it's come to the 14.8%, but already people are saying to me, if we're having our rates put up, why have they started doing the Memorial Park? And I know that was maybe in a previous budget, but people don't understand that. So people are angry. And I can understand that, you know, if they don't know it. So maybe somewhere it needs to be, people need to be told what's happening now, because there's a lot of angry people. And just when they, you know, if you get told, we haven't got money, but we're just going to do this anyway. So I think an explanation is needed quite soon. Very soon. I also, and because I'm not sure what other projects are happening before everybody knows what's happening with the community on expenditure. So I have, this is my 3rd year doing what with the youth sector as one of my portfolios, and I'm pleased to say that that's going really exceptionally well this year, and Kane from KA is doing it with me as well, and we're at TA Sports this year again, and it's going really well. So we went from just, you know, 10 people to 20 people, and we're going close up to 30 now. So it's really a great free youth program in Te Awamutu. Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Jill. And I might have another helper for you too, just as a by the way. Yeah, someone with some big dreams, so yeah. Kane, have you got anything?
Just the town cleanup day and the PCG meeting. That's all for this week.
Yep, okay, and so for me, I was also at the PCG meeting. I attended Bea Schiller's, who was the manager of the eyesight, and I'm not sure if you're all aware, but Ros Liddell has been brought back. So she's been over in Taranaki since she left Te Awamutu, and she's going to be stepping in and managing for a couple of days a week, and then hopefully 3 days. She's working very hard to get some volunteers to help her, and I know they'll definitely be lobbying to get some money to help them do the promotional side of things, at least to promote Te Awamutu to the wider national tourists, etc. I attended the dawn ceremony for the Rangi o Awhia commemoration. Once again, it was a beautiful event. I was very sorry I wasn't able to stay for the whole event. I did want to ask in regard to Orako, Ken, do you know whether as community board members we are able to attend, or is it invitation only, or do you know what at all, or how we would find out?
Yeah, look, to be honest, I don't actually know that. I know that there have definitely been invitations that have gone out, but yeah, but I'm not sure if it's invitation only or whether anyone can rock up. I
I'll
really
check.
don't know.
I'll
Yeah.
check with Dale Marie.
Yes,
She'll
yeah,
be
actually
good.
should be a really good
Yep.
person to check with. Yeah, encourage you to do.
No, good as gold. I just wanted to double check that. I also went along to the Waipa Local Welfare Committee meeting. That was held on Thursday, the 14th of March. So that's we get together a couple of times a year and run through all of the civil defence updates and then quite often we'll have a little practice. We didn't this time because there wasn't enough of us, but we will quite often have a practice of setting up a, what's the word I want, an emergency centre, so that in the event of a emergency, for example, an earthquake or a flood, that we know what we're doing and we can have people just move straight away into the right spots. So what we end up often doing is just having a chat about the general state of things. And one of the big things that certainly did come through, and it's just a point of interest, is that wearing my Kāinga Aroha hat, we are seeing a huge increase in food parcels. And this is not just people on benefits. We're starting to get people, well, we have done for probably about the last 6 months, since a bit before Christmas, people that are employed, that if they've had a couple of extra expenses, say like a car repair or something, they're having to come in and get food parcels. And we're probably up 25 to 30% on food parcels currently. And so that would be something that would be an impact in the event that, you know, we had emergencies, because there's people already very short of food. So, but otherwise that was a good get together, a good network. And
Just quickly, through you, Madam Chair, with your civil defence, did you register that unit? And have you registered that with the local civil defence coordinators?
how do you mean, have I read?
Wayne Allen, I sit as a regional deputy chair on the civil defence.
Yeah.
And what we want your groups to do is actually register yourselves.
Oh
So
yeah,
we know
no,
if
it's all done through Kathy Shaw. So
Okay,
Kathy
but
chairs
does
this.
it. That's what I'm asking, is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
registered? That's what I was asking.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because we need to have that knowledge so we can actually operate and coordinate with you in an emergency, so that you are actually under the jurisdiction of the main.
Yeah, we
control.
are. Yep, and so we get all your very exciting minutes to go through and things like that as well.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
review going on at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And normally, I can't think of his name, but some of the guys from over in Hamilton come over and are with us in those meetings, and we'll give updates from the Waikato group as well. I've just had a blank on who I'm trying to think of. I haven't got a list of who was there, sorry. With me? No, that's not who I'm trying to remember. No, we talked about the AF8 activation and NEMA and things like that, so cover quite a lot generally. And then on Monday, I sat in on the CBEC, the Community Board Executive National Hui that we had online by Zoom. They recently undertook a survey of all of the community boards, and I won't go into too much detail. I've sent you guys a link to the girls that from Frank Advice that did that survey and collated it all. But I did think one of the things that really stood out to me was that they had a very wide range of responses in regard to support, from a lot to a little. But I did think that the comments around only 30% were intending to stand again, 45 were unsure, 29% were definite. And most of those people that were intending to go on to become councillors. So there was a very clear indication that community boards were a common pathway to becoming councillors. That came through. And the other thing that I thought was quite interesting was that, and it was some things that we're doing, publicise your current abilities. So these were some things that we'd talked about that are in our strategic plan that we need to let people know what it is that we are doing. They suggested that we focus on councils, good practice to communicate with your council, what do we need to make this happen, ask for managers to get training about how to work with community boards was another takeaway. Self-reflection practices to look closely at what worked and what didn't. And again, I thought that that's something that we are doing, and to use workshops as a how-to or as an opportunity to do that. And then in the long term, they're recommending that we advocate to council to formalise roles and responsibilities. I know that was something in our review, and I'm not sure that we really have that very clear yet. We still basically are running the same as we were with, you know, with what we've got. I don't think we've, well, unless I've missed something, we haven't actually had a recommendation or a mandate from council laws or from council on anything that they would like us to do. So that could be an opportunity for us to discuss with the councillors to be able to do that. And what was the other thing? What do you think community boards should be doing and how should they be placed? So come to a position on what our community board should be there to do. So I thought there were some quite interesting takeaways from that. But as I say, if you have a look at that link, it's all outlined. They probably say it much better than me. So I think that's pretty much what I've been up to. Okay, so we will get on to, if there's nothing further on those. John, have you been up to anything, been to the Alpha or anywhere? Or Sally? Don't not forget Sally, but John?
No, nothing. The only thing I will add is there's been a change in the way the wreaths are going to be placed at the civil.
Oh, the wreaths. Oh, yes, that's right. Yep,
won't be going up the steps. You'll be going up past behind the band and going down through that way. But someone will be there to put someone in the right place. That's all. Thanks.
Cool, thank you. Sally, did you have anything?
Yeah, so with the rest of you, enjoyed cleanup day, fantastic, great initiative came. I went to the Cambridge Community Board last week, as I said, to witness what was going on over there and the public concerns and show my support, as it's a bit of an interesting affair coming into the chambers with everybody. I came in support of our chairperson. So that was my lot for March.
What was the last one?
I think, was that supporting the Cambridge, going to Cambridge to
witness what was happening over there with regards to the public forum.
Yep, and then the bit that you said about supporting the chair, what was that? We just lost you a bit. You went,
oh, sorry.
Not your fault.
The SPMP meeting.
Oh, SPMP meeting. Thank you. Yeah, we didn't get the SPMP part. It was just we got the end. That's all good. Not your fault. There's a bit of glitching going on. Are we with one business and the satellites are going through the clouds?
And Bruce?
I think that
and Bruce, you got anything further to add?
Good, thank you.
Cool. Nothing happening out in Porongia or in Kikipuku? Oh dear, that was a bit sad actually.
She's a nice lady.
Mm.
Nothing wrong with where she's coming from, but language.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we'll move on to item 11, which is the date of our next meeting. So the next Te Awamutu and Kihikihi Community Board meeting is to be held at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, the 24th of April. So that is just after Anzac Day. No, just before, the day before Anzac Day, I meant to say, sorry. And we can close the meeting